Mass fear continues to spread across the crypto markets as everyone's waiting pretty much for the other shoe to drop. Following FTX's collapse, there's more and more articles showing pretty much how bad the situation was behind doors. And last week we had another crypto lending platform halting withdrawals, which is called Genesis. And many of you may have not heard this, but this is pretty significant for the entire story and actually for all the FUD that we have on the market currently. But really, all the communities that I'm in, Twitter is exploding with all of this that is happening on the markets and that we're going to look into today. I really haven't seen the sentiment so bad, and there are good reasons for this, but also usually when there's peak fear, there are good reasons to start accumulating Bitcoin and Ethereum. So we're going to look into the options, we're going to look into what I've seen, what are the facts that we know, and of course we're going to speculate a little bit and we see where price potentially could go from here. So let's jump right into it. Genesis is part of a bigger group which is called Digital Currency Group, and in their portfolio they have obviously Genesis, CoinDesk, many other platforms also like Kraken and Coinbase. They're investors in them, but most importantly Grayscale is also part of their subsidiaries, and that is very significant because last week there were rumors that the group is struggling to find financing for Genesis, and here we're talking about multi-billion group that is struggling to save Genesis. And with that started additional rumors about GBTC, and I will share down in the comments with you an amazing thread by the Stock Geek which explains pretty much everything. The short version is that Grayscale obviously holds GBTC and it's trading at an all-time discount of 45% compared to the holdings that they claim that they have. And they have a lot of Bitcoin. They have around 630,000 Bitcoin. And the problem is that they're not willing to share proof of reserves, or in other words, they're not willing to share their Bitcoin addresses in cold storage. And the major problem is that Coinbase is the custodian of those Bitcoin. And if they are also not willing to share their addresses, like for example Kraken and Binance did, this means that Coinbase could also be in trouble if there's something shady going on behind closed doors. So this is, I think, very significant. Obviously, everything could still be rumors and they might have valid reasons for not showing their addresses. But again, in these type of conditions, I'm obviously not taking any kind of risks. And here you can see on the Grayscale side, they made an announcement saying, yes, we have the Bitcoin and whatever. Coinbase did something similar, but also FTX did exactly the same just before it went down. So it's really tricky situation. I think this will be very significant for the entire crypto market and it won't be really good. And I hope that we get some kind of a resolution this week. And actually on the positive side, what I'm seeing is that crypto.com hasn't defaulted yet and they haven't held any withdrawals, which means that they were able to cover everything that people were withdrawing in the last couple of weeks when there were rumors circulating about them that they don't have 1-to-1 ratio and they're not keeping the reserves of their customers. This hasn't been the issue, so this everything here might be just rumors, but I wanted to share everything that I know, and you should also keep track of what's going on because pretty much day to day there will be new information that would probably be important, but I hope that we get some kind of official information this or next week, so pretty much we know what's going to happen. You know, we know if we're going for another big leg down and if everything is going to hell, or maybe we have found a bottom. And as usual, the best information that you can see and you can find is on the charts. And let's just look into Bitcoin and Ethereum and some of the positions that I took last week. First of all, as you can see, we were in this, let me just clean this up. I haven't changed my targets pretty much. I'm gonna scale in more into Bitcoin around these levels, so around 15, 14K and then 12K if we get a major washout to that level. However, you can see that we had a bear flag play out pretty much last week. Price was consolidating, and that's very typical after such a powerful move that we have here. Price to kind of chill for a little bit we were potentially looking at a breakout here around 17k, and on the 4-hour chart you can see it a lot clearer, but we lost momentum and the volume started fading out, and we broke down just this weekend from this bearish flag. However, for now we're holding around 16k, so we don't know where the bottom will be obviously, but I'm prepared to go much heavier down low here. And even if we chop around here for quite a while, which I think is also quite probable, I can be patient and at some point scale in more even if we don't break down further, because in my opinion, to be honest, whatever we can buy in these levels in the next months or years, I think these will be great buys. And it's really funny actually to see one coincidence that played out pretty much perfectly. The washout we had here and the capitulation happened on November 8 and 9. And if we go back to the previous cycle, I have shown you this quite a few times already, but the capitulation that we had here also happened around November. So this was November 14th and the wash down here was also November 19th. So almost the same timeline, and that's kind of spooky because we had exactly the same capitulation here. And if we look for clues what might happen to price, as you can see here, it continued trending downwards for quite a while, and we had several more weeks of bearishness here. This was like pretty much another month of drawdowns here from the capitulation, and from there price kind of found the bottom and we started trending upwards and we started forming this little accumulation, which was the best time obviously to buy Bitcoin, around $3,000. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see something similar play out here, and whatever happens, obviously I will be buying more Bitcoin, and I'm also interested in buying the same amounts of Ethereum. With Ethereum, the picture looks a little bit different. We're actually holding still a higher low compared to this here, and I think the main reason for this is that Ethereum has seen a lot of developments, especially with the merge. It's a big milestone, and actually if we see a trend of DeFi playing out because of the fear that we have on all the exchanges, Ethereum will be the big winner of this. It doesn't matter which decentralized exchange you decide to use or the people decide to use, almost all of them are based on Ethereum and you pay the fees in Ethereum, so you can guess it which one will be the big winners. So Ethereum definitely in this area I think is also a strong buy. I still haven't accumulated more Ethereum, but that's because I do have quite a big bag and I'm comfortable with it, and my cost basis is pretty much zero because I have taken a lot of profit. Although I haven't sold any of the Bitcoin that I have from last few cycles, I did sell quite a lot of Ethereum, so I can be patient with this. And if we retest this area around $1,000, I will start accumulating more Ethereum. And if we get a blessing and truly get a washout to the lower levels like 800, I will be increasing my dollar cost average size. And this brings me actually to one of the narratives that I tried to play last week. Because we had so many rumors about crypto.com collapsing, there was more and more fear of centralized exchanges, and there were a lot of money pulled out of the exchanges, and this caused a little boom in the centralized exchanges. That's why I initiated a positions here on GMX, which is a perpetual exchange, so you can use leverage on this decentralized exchange, and also DYDX. And as you can see, while GMX is holding up, although we are struggling to break out above this level, but that's totally fine. The liquidity in this token is not great. The exchange diversification is not great. And it's very typical to have these kind of wicks on lower market cap coins. But this one I will hold, to be honest, even if we go lower. I've mentioned this before. I'm ready to accumulate more of this. I just really like the idea of this exchange, and I'm probably gonna do separate video about it and about my fundamental research. And even if you go back here down to around $12 area, that would be great. So these will be the areas I'm looking to add. Also, if we potentially have an all-time high breakout around $60, again, I'm willing to add to this token and hold it for the long term. DYDX is a little bit different story. This was more of a speculation. It was preparing to break out here. I was looking at a key level here where the most of the reactions were around $2.50. We have maybe on the 4-hour chart, you can see it better. We had 2 attempts for a breakout. Both of them failed. And now we're falling back below this level of around $2. And I'm ready to cut this position. I'll be just a little bit more patient with it. It will be a loss of around 20-30% depending if we hold this as resistance here, but I'm totally fine. This is a smaller position for me, and as I mentioned, this was a speculative bet on decentralized exchanges because DYDX is similar to GMX. And if this doesn't happen, that's fine. You know, I'm just gonna cut the position at a loss, and that's fine. In general, as you can see, the current conditions are not great for trading in general, but also for buying altcoins that have lower liquidity, because we can very easily go into a much deeper bear market and all alts will bleed even more significantly. So I'm not taking any major risks now. I'm just gonna accumulate a little bit more. I do have some Matic here and I'm probably gonna buy a little bit more in this area here, but nothing too major. This is another bag that I'm willing to hold longer term, but as I mentioned, I'm really buying smaller portions here. I'm not really going all in on altcoins. I'm buying just enough that if this is the bottom, I know that I'll be okay with the size that I'm getting, but nothing more. If we get lower, definitely I'll be more confident. And to be honest, even if you don't buy any altcoins and if you don't accumulate, that's actually a great strategy, because this means you're minimizing your risk and you're preserving your capital, and there's always another trade and you can potentially always take a breakout. For example, on Matic, if this plays out something like this, you know, if we get lower lows, we get into this lower range, at some point if we see bullishness, even if this is in a year or two from now, you can always take a breakout somewhere in this area, and probably you will have also a good cost basis. And even if you don't, if you paid a little bit more compared to me, that I'm willing to accumulate some Matic down here, that is fine. This means that you will be taking less risk than me, because with the accumulations that I'm buying right now, I know that I have 100% risk on all of these tokens, and I'm ready to take this risk for around 5 to 6, 7% at the moment of my portfolio. That is everything for this video and for this update. If you have any questions, you know how to find me.